Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I have my enemies to lovers mug and a lavender latte, and it is so good. Today's video is going to be my February reading wrap up, so we're just going to be talking about all of the books that I read in February and my thoughts on them, so let's just get into it. So the first book that I finished in February was Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas. I was so close to finishing this in January, but it just went over a couple of days into February. So this is book 4 in the Throne of Glass series. To everyone's surprise, including my own, I really liked it. I liked it so much more than the first 3, which is another topic that I really disliked the first 3 books. Like the first one, I was like, I don't understand the hype, but maybe it gets better. And then the second one, I was like, what was that? And then the third one, I still didn't like it very much, and I really don't like Aelin, but I really liked Manon. And I like Rowan. So I think Manon and Abraxos is really the only reason I kept going. And reading the 4th book, I do enjoy it. I still have my same qualms because I don't think you should have to read up to the 4th book to start to get into it. But I did enjoy it. Like I said, I almost didn't continue the series, but Manon and Abraxos, was the only thing keeping an inkling of interest for me, and he was like dangling in front of me, so that's why I continued, and because it's like the Massiverse thing, you know. But yeah, I actually liked this, like I've said. I wanted more of Manon in this book than we got. I just always kind of want more of her. I loved getting a lot more of her and the witches, and I'm curious to see where her story will go. I like kind of the arc that it's taking with her almost being rebellious, sort of. I have not liked Aelin thus far, unfortunately, but she was more tolerable in this book. I also liked getting more of Rowan, and I really liked meeting Lysandra. I've heard of that character for so long, but had never met her until this point, and so I was excited to get her. I really like her character. I'm also hopeful we'll be getting more of Dorian in the next book, because we had him in the first 2, but then, you know, things happen in the 3rd, and it's kind of weird, and everything's kind of weird in the first 3 books, if I'm going to be honest. But we're getting him in this next book, and I'm hoping there will be more of him, maybe his POV a lot more, and I'm excited about that because I do like him. This book felt like more of what I had been waiting for the action, for the story to develop, for the characters, you know, like all that stuff. I feel like this is kind of what I had been waiting for to happen. But again, I don't think it should take 4 books to get interested in a series. I am going to continue the series and finish it. However, because of my friend Kayla, who I talked to about this, she mentioned that I don't have to read Tower of Dawn because I will get the same information. So I don't plan on reading that unless I become a really big fan and decide that I want to. I'm also not going to read the prequel Assassin's Blade because, again, I don't need the information for the story, even though it just like adds to it. Right now, my goal is to just finish it. So I'm going to read Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash, and that'll be it for me, I think. I'm going to finish in that regard, but as being a little bit of a completionist, I'll probably have to read all of her works at some point. But all of that being said, I did give this 4 stars. I did like it. We'll see what happens in Empire of Storms. The second book that I read was an anticipated release of mine, and that was A Vow and Vengeance by Jacqueline Rodriguez. This book was okay. Oh, let me actually tell you what this book is about, since Throne of Glass was the first one. This is an interesting world where the people are kind of like chosen. It's like this choosing right that happens every, I think, year. Let me see. Yeah, each year humans are forced to journey into the immortal realms. So each year there's basically like everyone stands out of this place that she lives, and a handful of humans are chosen and they're taken to the immortal realms. They don't know what happens to them. They assume that they're like enslaved or killed or something. And Rune Riker is the main character in this, and she kind of orchestrates herself to be chosen because all of her family has been chosen and is gone. And you get chosen for one of the immortal realms, and there's 3. And so she just wants to get there to see if she can find her family and kind of escape the immortals at this point, because everything has been taken from her from them. And the humans hate the immortals for kind of obvious reasons, if that's kind of what your mindset is. But the interesting thing of this is she gets taken to the Druid land, and the Druids have this like college that is fueled by magic, but you also get like tarot magic. So you get a deck of cards, and when you're being sorted into your like house in the college, in the university, you like draw a card, and it's like a magical choosing. Like the card chooses you, and that's what your magic ability is. And I liked that aspect of it. The magic was interesting. So once you get chosen, it's like you are this power and you live in this house. And then you get your own deck of cards to summon your magic. And it's a really complicated system and difficult to use the magic. And everybody has to train and go to school for it, which is why they're there. And the magic that chooses her is one of the most powerful ones. And the only other person that's in that house is Prince Draven, who's an immortal. And they hate each other. I think this is not necessarily an enemies to lovers. If it is, it's more like a one-sided enemies to lovers situation. But because of her magical ability, people are either kind of afraid of her or it puts a target on her back. And there's, of course, like treachery and betrayal and all kinds of underhanded schemes going on. And this is the Druid land, but there's also the Seraphim land and the Elven land. And all of them treat humans differently. So all of it's kind of interesting. Her families are all in different lands, and the way she has to navigate the magic system in the Druids, also very interesting. I liked the magic. I liked the story, but there was something about it that I felt like was missing for me. I liked the world. I liked the magic system. The Tarot magic was cool. I also liked the idea that, you can, in theory, ascend to become immortal and gain like wings, horns, magic, whatever. But you don't necessarily gain all of them, and you don't even necessarily gain one of them. So I thought that kind of was interesting. So it manifests for different people in different ways when they're immortals. And there's also a lot of like curse magic involved that you learn about as you go. And while all of that was interesting, I felt like the story did drag a little. It felt kind of like longer than it needed to be almost. I wasn't as compelled as I thought I should be. The ending is really sad though, and I do think I want to continue the series, but I found myself not fully engrossed or caring as much as I thought I should, or as much as I do when I really like a book. So for that reason, I gave it 3 stars. But I think if it sounds interesting to you, you should give it a shot. It was easy to read. Parts of it just weren't captivating me at times. Oh, and this is book 1 in the Immortal Desires. And then I read Lightlark by Alex Aster. This is book 1 in the Lightlark series, and in this world, there's like a tournament competition kind of element where people are chosen, the rulers of the different lands, again, kind of, are chosen to compete, and whoever wins could break a curse, but no one has been able to break the curse, and it's been like a problem this whole time, and the land is like deteriorating because of that, because this curse has been on them for so long, and the curse is like over the land, but it's also on each individual house. So each individual like house land has a curse that directly affects their abilities. It's very like elemental in nature, like shadows or flowers or nature or healing or ice, water, like those sunlight, those types of things. So I think there's the moon ones, they're like the water-based ones. They can only come out in the daytime, not at night in the moon, when they're supposed to be able to be in the moon. So like they just all have these individual curses on the houses. I liked that a lot. I thought it was interesting. This is kind of painted as the Hunger Games. I wouldn't say that. I understand kind of where they're coming from with that, where it's a competition, and for part of it, you're not allowed to kill each other, but then it's kind of like you are allowed to kill each other. But nobody's like, it's not cutthroat like Hunger Games. And it's not a killing competition. I don't think that's a fair assessment. I don't think that's a fair comparison. But I did like the competition elements and like the balls and the dances and the politics and everyone has to put on a different test for the rulers and to see who comes out on top and how are we going to break this curse, you know? I did like the story, and I enjoyed this book a lot, and I really liked how the world and the different lands have different powers and curses. Like, it does bring an interesting dynamic to the story. The competition was interesting and cool. I liked that some of it was like mind games, some of it was truth. Like, it just went a lot of different ways. But like I said, there's a lot less killing than one would expect for it to be compared to the Hunger Games. I really liked the different magic that each place had. So she was a wildling, and the magic that they have is over like plants and flowers and just different things like that. But it can also heal with these different serums. Like, all of it was really interesting. And I appreciated that there were assumptions everyone had about the different lands, and some of them weren't true. And I don't know, it was just interesting. Grimm was like more shadowy, but I think he can also dream, like walk into people's dreams and walk through walls. All of it was really cool. I liked the dynamics of Oro and Grimm. We do have a kind of like a love triangle situation, but I do like the way it was written. And I liked that Grimm was the like shadowy, dark, like underdog kind of, sort of. He's like hated by the rest of the lands. So I liked that, but I liked that Aro, who's this like blonde prince, was the grumpy one and was like the one that is usually the dark-haired shadowy person. I liked that was kind of flipped on its head. I enjoyed that from a blonde character, honestly, and it's so silly that you have to say like the blonde male was written so interesting because he was just different, but it was cool. Ending did have a twist, and I don't think I had guessed exactly what was going to happen. I guess like some things were really fishy and weird, but I did like the twist. I'm curious how the story is going to continue, and I look forward to continuing it. There was one aspect that I didn't like of her hooking up with the character. It felt fast-paced and just kind of it felt like too fast for the pacing of the book. And like when you want the yearning, when you want to root for somebody, it just felt too fast. But I did enjoy the story, and I'm hoping that the story just continues to get better. I think there's 4 books at this point, and I don't know if it's over, if that was the finale. Let's see. It doesn't necessarily say last book, so I don't know. Regardless, I hope the story continues to go up from here, but I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Then I read Say Yes to the Nemesis by Vivian Wood. This is book 2 in the Wildfire Lane series, but you can read it by itself. I got this from NetGalley, and so I was reviewing the audio arc. And this is interesting because it's following a hockey player who basically goes on this like bachelor type show and is trying to find somebody he wants to be with. And his best friend's little sister, I believe. Yes. His best friend's little sister is a like producer. She's working on the show. But then one of the contestants drops out and her boss asks her to fill in as one of the contestants. And so she has to kind of like compete with him, have like a clashing of personalities and like butt heads and stuff. But I wouldn't call it hate to love. I think she disliked him and he sort of disliked her, but it's because he was attracted to her. I think it's that kind of a situation. And he's like this big hockey star. But it bothered me, I guess. Okay. I really liked the start of this. I liked the whole bachelor setting and idea. I thought that would be really fun. That's kind of why I wanted to read it in the first place. But then it started to just go downhill. I thought the characters got together too fast, honestly, especially for the type of book it's supposed to be, where it's supposed to be a bachelor show. Got together too fast, and therefore the bachelor show theme wasn't as prevalent to the story as I thought it would be. It felt like he was set up as the bachelor and she was planted as a contestant, but then they would just like hang out on the weekends when they weren't filming. So they would just like be like, oh, you have time off from filming, don't interact with each other, and then they would just go hang out. Because they're like family friends. So it wasn't very fun that way, especially when you're expecting something else. I also really disliked the ending. It felt like there was a whole plot point or tension that was for no reason. It just felt like it was so easily avoidable. And actually, like, the reason it happened, later on, there was like actually no purpose for it and no reason for it. And that really bothered me. So I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars, but if that's the kind of thing you think you would vibe with, give it a shot. And kind of on a whim, I read The Astral Library by Kate Quinn, and I loved it. Like, again, this was kind of on a whim. I had heard of it coming out and was kind of curious about it. I don't even know if it was in my anticipated release video, but I learned about it and was like, that sounds actually pretty cool. I think I would like to read that. I read this so fast. I read this in like a day, or maybe like 2 days. This is a book lover's dream. So the character in this story basically finds this magical library inside the Boston Library, and the reader that gets into this magical library can go physically into the books and experience the stories. And it was so fun. This book is a book lover's dream. I loved this. We all dream of kind of being able to step into a book, but I love how the author handled the story and the bad guy. I love how it delved into like how we might not want to go into our favorite book because it's super dangerous and we probably won't survive, or how the Astral Library opens up to people that aren't in safe situations. And so it kind of like opens up this sanctuary for them and a safe haven for them. It just like provides you an escape. It's so cool. I thought another interesting aspect was you're never the main character of any of the stories that you choose to go into. I loved that this dealt with topics like poverty, abuse, and the foster system, and how libraries are important. The author also throws in so many like Easter eggs type things for all of us readers, like talking about Fourth Wing Rebecca Yarros, or Game of Thrones, or Lord of the Rings, popular fantasy books and authors, lingo, ghosts in the library who haven't moved on because they haven't finished their TBR. Like, a lot of it was just really funny and enjoyable as a big reader. There's more of them too that I can't think of at this moment, but I loved it so much. It was a treat to read, and it really had me smiling. And if you're in the book community, you love the Bookstagram and Book Talk and just reading fantasy books and escaping, I think you would love this book. At least appreciate it, even if it's not your normal type of book. But I really, really loved it. I thought it was done really well. The characters are cool. The librarian is really funny, and you get to go into these different types of stories, and it was just so cool. Loved it. 5 stars. Technically, those are the only ones that I finished in February. I did start And Now Back to You, but I finished it on March 1st because I ran out of time. So you'll have to wait for that one, but those were the books that I ended up reading in February. I would love to know your favorite read of February, but for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.